Bank of America seeks $800 million in Pizza Hut deal. Also, it is reported that the last pile of chemical weapons destroyed at Anniston Army Depot. Because of negligence, Jaycee Dugard, the California woman who was kidnapped when she was 11 and held captive for 18 years, has filed a lawsuit against the federal government. Dugard is not seeking money for herself in the complaint, according to Thursday's press release. Instead, 100% of any claim awarded would be donated to the Jaycee Foundation, Incorporated, a non-profit charity established to provide support and services for treatment of families recovering from abduction and the aftermath of traumatic experiences. And, interestingly, European researchers said they clocked an oddball type of subatomic particle called a neutrino going faster than the 186,282 miles per second that has long been considered the cosmic speed limit. The Navy next week is set to conduct an underwater demolition off Camp Pendleton to destroy 2 missiles launched in about 60 feet of water. It is said by the Navy that the Sea Sparrow missiles were jettisoned for safety purposes by a helicopter taking them to the amphibious assault ship Bonhomme Richard on August 30th. And that the 2 missiles dropped 400 feet to the ocean surface about 1.7 miles from Camp Pendleton. In advance of the demolition, the Coast Guard will enforce a 2,000-yard safety zone and broadcast a warning to civilian craft to stay clear. The detonation may produce a plume of water visible from land. Hurricane Hilary now a Category 4 in the Pacific. Landfall not expected. Public advisory. 8 p.m. September 22, 2011. Hilary small but powerful. Maximum sustained winds 135 miles per hour. Tropical storm warnings in effect for Lagunas de Chacalhue, Mexico westward to Punta Santamo and west to Manzanillo. Drug maker Merck company speeding up layoffs of many U.S. employees. A Merck spokesman said 35% to 40% of the job cuts would be in the United States, many at its headquarters in White House Station, New Jersey. The new cuts will bring to 30,000 the positions eliminated since Merck's November 2009 mega deal to buy Schering-Plough Corporation, on top of about 5,000 positions the companies cut before the deal closed. From CBS Mega News Corporation. Making reference to what he called the mysterious September 11th incident and the slave masters and colonial powers of the West, Iranian President Ahmadinejad excoriated Western member nations in an address to the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Ahmadinejad said after the speech that as an engineer he's sure the Twin Towers at the World Trade Center in New York were not brought down by jetliners. Ahmadinejad, in an interview with the Associated Press, says it would have been impossible for 2 jetliners to bring down the towers simply by hitting them. He says some kind of planned explosion must have taken place. In case you haven't heard, CERN claims that the speed of light is broken. CERN says it has just measured subatomic particles traveling at faster than the speed of light. Or, in non-English, the European Organization for Nuclear Research has just measured a neutrino, which is a subatomic particle, a multicellular organism, that traveled from Geneva, Switzerland, to a destination in Italy and managed to exceed the speed of light by 60 nanoseconds, with a margin of error of only 10 nanoseconds. From American Free Press. The push for a new centrist third party being orchestrated behind the scenes at the highest levels is quietly escalating as the 2012 election cycle gets underway. The third party concept being touted has its origins in the elite, high-finance connected circles that already dominate both the Republican and Democratic-controlled parties. In other words, the centrist party being promoted is designed to undercut the viability of any serious populist challenge to the power elite who already dominate the political structure in America. In short, it is a controlled opposition. From the Atlanta Journal. Atlanta increases surveillance of city. And, The plans to put public spaces under camera surveillance will move forward this week with the opening of a state-of-the-art video monitoring center. Marijuana administered in a timely fashion could block the development of post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms in rats, a new study conducted at Haifa University has found. The study, which was conducted by researchers at the university's psychology department and published in the Neuropsychopharmacology journal, found that rats which were treated with marijuana within 24 hours of a traumatic experience successfully avoided any symptoms of PTSD. Monsanto denies superinsect science. 2011 is emerging as the year of the superinsect, the year pests officially develop resistance to Monsanto's genetically engineered, bug-killing corn. Monsanto nor the EPA, which regulates pesticides and pesticide-infused crops, can credibly claim surprise. Scientists have been warning that the EPA's rules for planting the crop were too lax to prevent resistance since before the agency approved the crop in 2003. 6 wild and crazy sci-fi abilities of real-life plants. Plants don't get enough respect as sci-fi monsters. Sure, triffids will always rule, but sci-fi baddies tend to be mutants, zombies, vampires and other altered mammals. This is an ignorance of plants' amazingly creepy special abilities.
Okay, can you just explain who you are and why you decided to come down here?
I'm Thorin Caristo. I live in Connecticut, and I chose to come down here because I realized that we may have a very narrowing time margin on making a difference in the world and holding corporations accountable for constantly demanding that they have increased profit margins. These profit margins have run out. We've outsourced a lot of labor and production, and now we're sitting in a country that is low on manufacturing, low on jobs, obviously, and the wealth factor is at this point is really decreasing at a rate that is alarming if you look at the numbers. So knowing all that, some of us gave up our jobs, not just myself, of course. There's an amazing group of people here. Everybody really has a deep integrity of spirit. It seems like it's just a natural selection of the people who chose to come here have very, very deep strength and courage. And it's been tough establishing ourselves here, but we've gotten the support of the corporation who owns this plaza. And other than the altercation yesterday with NYPD, for the most part, they've been here as a presence, just watching over and not agitating. And they certainly haven't gone out of their way to agitate. Yesterday morning was an aberration, and it was borderline on tragedy, simply because we were complying, we were in full compliance, and they still chose. There was a bit of an aggression factor that came into play. But we're here because we know that the time's running out, not just for us in America, but the world population. We've got to hold these corporations accountable and say, hey, you're making your money, you've got your wealth, you're the ones with all the wealth already. So we've got to have balance. There's got to be, we've got to see that prosperity for every human being is a factor, and that it's continuing to be a factor, that it's continuing to be a priority for financial decision makers, for politicians, that the number one priority for them is that they keep a level of prosperity continuing, or return that level of prosperity continuing to the public. And it's unfortunate that sometimes you don't see what you need to see until it's too late. And personally, I hope that the corporations can accept that they're going to have to give up a little bit of wealth to retain the majority of their wealth. And by doing so, return that prosperity. On a personal note, I feel like clean energy solutions, clean low-cost energy solutions such as solar and wind are very realistic. We say around here that it's not the solution that needs to be established, it's the freedom to express the solution that we've got to establish. So let's all push, If you're seeing this, hopefully we're in the same boat, and you understand that we've got to hold these corporations accountable for their actions, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with standing up. It's time to have courage. When all hope is lost, that's when courage rises up. And we got to rise up as a world population. It doesn't have to be violent. pushing, or just trying to break something. We've got to adjust the model, and we've got to demand that adjustment.